fast. I mean, that's literally the very first word that pops into your head, isn't it? For over a century now, the raw, thrilling essence of two wheels has completely stripped away the barrier between you and the open road. Loud. And we're talking an all-encompassing, full-body sensory experience here. You know the feeling, that vibration right in your chest, the screaming of the gears, this intense mechanical symphony of an engine operating just inches below you. Dangerous. Look, let's just be completely honest. That little hint of inherent risk, that's exactly what has always drawn people to these machines. There's no metal cage, there's no seatbelt. It is quite literally just you, gravity, and the asphalt. Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely pumped you're hanging out with us today because we are embarking on a totally high-octane journey. We're going to trace the incredible evolution of the motorcycle, from these crazy, clunky, steam-powered concepts back in the 19th century, all the way to the futuristic, silent superbikes of tomorrow. Let's dive in. Okay, so to really grasp where we are today, we gotta rewind all the way back to the 1800s. The world was just changing at a breakneck pace. Factories were absolutely booming, steam engines were powering entire cities, and the bicycle, well, it was becoming incredibly popular. But then, right in the thick of the Industrial Revolution, inventors started asking this one foundational question. What if a bicycle had an engine? It sounds so obvious to us now, right? But at the time, this was a radical, world-changing spark of genius. Chapter 1: The Birth of the Motorcycle. So this is the wild era where inventors actually started experimenting with strapping heavy, completely unpredictable engines onto super fragile two-wheeled frames. And honestly, it's staggering how rapidly innovation spread like wildfire once the idea was out there. Get this, in 1867, inventors in France actually managed to create one of the very first steam-powered motorcycles. As you can probably guess, it was really slow, super heavy, and just incredibly difficult to control. But it introduced the revolutionary concept, two wheels, one engine, unlimited freedom. Then we jump forward a bit to 1885, where history changed forever with the Daimler Radwagen. And incredibly, just a few years later, by 1903, the iconic Harley-Davidson was founded in America, kicking off a whole new industry. Let's actually zoom in on that 1885 breakthrough for just a second. German engineers Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach built the world's very first gasoline-powered motorcycle, known as the Daimler Radwagen. Just try to imagine riding this thing. It had a wooden frame, a tiny little gas engine, and absolutely zero suspension. None. It was a clumsy, bone-rattling contraption for sure. But make no mistake, this specific machine is the granddaddy of literally every modern motorcycle on the road today. All right, moving on to Chapter 2, War and Utility. Now, as the technology matured, these machines quickly shifted from being weird experimental oddities to completely essential tools. When the 1900s rolled around, people desperately needed practical transport, and motorcycles absolutely dominated the competition. Why? Well, they were vastly cheaper to produce and buy than early cars, they were significantly faster than horses, and crucially, they were just perfect for navigating the deeply rutted, rough roads of that era. They just made perfect economic and practical sense. And you know, that practicality, it literally became a matter of life and death when the World Wars kicked off. Motorcycles entered the battlefield to carry soldiers, run vital supplies, and deliver military messages way faster than heavy trucks could push through the mud. By World War II, military motorcycles had to become incredibly strong. Take the legendary BMW R75. With its super rugged design and that attached sidecar, it became one of the most famous military machines ever built, somehow surviving the absolute worst conditions imaginable. And honestly, the most beautiful part of this? When the war finally ended, millions of soldiers came home carrying a deep, lifelong love for riding.
Which brings us perfectly to Chapter 3, The Biker Revolution.
So those returning soldiers ended up sparking this dramatic shift in the 1950s and 60s, creating a stark, fascinating contrast. Motorcycles were completely transforming from these purely practical, utilitarian machines into massive cultural icons. On one hand, you had World War II military bikes, born entirely out of the sheer necessity for battlefield utility and survival. But fast forward just a decade or two, and suddenly you have the 1960s custom cruisers. Hollywood movies started showing these fearless riders cruising across endless highways in leather jackets. The motorcycle wasn't just a way to get from point A to point B anymore. It had become the ultimate symbol of youthful rebellion and absolute, unchecked freedom. But while America and Europe were busy defining the whole biker culture,
Japan was quietly stepping in to completely redefine the engineering. The entry of brands like Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki just flipped the entire industry on its head. They basically won the market because of four massive advantages. Their bikes were significantly lighter, considerably cheaper, vastly more reliable, and just incredibly fast. They essentially took high-performance riding and made it accessible to the masses. And the absolute, undisputed king of this new Japanese wave that dropped in 1969? The Honda CB750. Take a mental snapshot of this moment, because this four-cylinder, highly advanced marvel is widely recognized today as the world's first true superbike. It was a total game changer. The superbike era had officially arrived. Now we hit Chapter 4, the Superbike Speed Wars. Man, once that superbike door was kicked open, the race was officially on. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, manufacturers were fiercely competing to build the absolute fastest motorcycle on Earth, pulling their ideas directly from GPT track innovations. We saw the introduction of these sleek, wind-cheating aerodynamic fairings. Engines suddenly got liquid cooling to handle the immense heat. Fuel injection completely replaced carburetors for precise power delivery. These simple machines were literally evolving into technological track dominators right before our eyes. And all of that crazy technology culminated in 1999 with the release of an absolute monster, the Suzuki Hayabusa. You want to know its top speed? 300, as in over 300 kilometers per hour. That was a staggering, almost incomprehensible engineering feat for a production vehicle at the time. It instantly, and I mean instantly, cemented the Hayabusa as a global legend. Okay, Chapter 5, Conquering Dirt and Adventure. But hey, obviously the evolution of the motorcycle wasn't solely about going ridiculously fast in a straight line on perfectly paved roads. Engineering evolved to conquer rugged terrain and literally span entire continents, leading to this incredible variety of machines. Dirt bikes were engineered to be super light and strong, perfect for conquering mountains and massive motocross jumps. Adventure bikes? Built like heavy-duty pack mules to travel across continents. Then you had touring bikes for highway comfort, sport bikes for track days, and cruisers for weekend styling. The motorcycle industry finally had a machine perfectly tailored for literally every kind of lifestyle. Let's look ahead to Chapter 6, the electric motorcycle future. So where do we actually go from here? Well, right now, we are standing on the edge of a brand new era, looking toward cutting-edge innovations that are completely redefining two-wheeled travel yet again. We're experiencing a massive sensory shift. Just compare the traditional gas bikes, defined by loud screaming engines, the heavy smell of fuel, and that intense mechanical vibration we talked about at the very beginning, with the modern electric era. This new era is all about raw, instant torque, and completely silent acceleration. It's wild to think about, but some of these new electric bikes can actually outperform traditional gasoline motorcycles in speed and power, fundamentally changing what it even feels like to ride. And honestly, the propulsion system is really just the tip of the iceberg. The futuristic concepts currently in development right now are just mind-bending. We are talking about artificial intelligence fully integrated into the bike to monitor road conditions for you. Self-balancing systems that literally keep the bike upright without a kickstand. Smart helmets with heads-up displays. And get this, even autonomous riding technology. The motorcycle is transforming once again, evolving into this incredibly smart, hyper-connected machine. But through all of this, from those terrifying wooden-framed steam bikes back in the 1800s to the crazy AI-driven silent electric rockets of tomorrow, the core connection remains exactly the same. They are simply emotion on two wheels. Motorcycles, they aren't just vehicles. That feeling of freedom, the pure thrill of speed, and that really unique bond between the rider and the machine, it simply cannot be replicated by anything else. And wow, that brings us to the end of our journey today. We've just explored over a century of pure innovation, rebellion, speed, and wild technology. So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. After seeing the whole story broken down, which era of the motorcycle do you think is actually the greatest? Take a second to reflect on those raw early pioneers, the rugged wartime heroes, the superbike speed demons, or maybe even the silent futuristic tech we just saw. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.